So good afternoon, Mr. Segun Ladipo. Thank you for honoring our invitation. We're pleased and it's an honor to have you on OK Interlink platform. So I'll just start by asking you to introduce yourself. Just tell us a bit about yourself, particularly your professional background.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Like you said, my name is Segun Ladipo. Middle name Babatunde, interesting one. I started my career just about 25 years ago. Banking career, actually. Before then, I had done a few other things in the financial institution. I mean, the financial sector, rather. I left school about, how many years ago now? 33 years ago. I left college or university. And I had worked with some financial houses, so what we used to call finance houses then joined Zenith Bank in 1995 and started out as a teller, normal thing. And yeah, teller moved from Zenith to FCMB and a few other banks. And today I work with Unity Bank as a regional head supervising the business in VI. The VI region has about 9 branches, Ikoyi business, Lekki business, and the branches of the businesses in Lagos Island, and all the ones in VI. Balance sheet of maybe about 200 million US of conversion, something like that.
Okay, so I'm trying to calculate what is that in Naira.
You can walk it back.
Okay, good one.
Yeah.
So one can say, of course, that you've had a successful career, and so what would you say has been the biggest success factor for you all through your career, from when you started, from being a teller up until this point that you're managing an entire region of a bank?
Yeah, I think the tipping point for my career was about 2 years into my banking career. I started out as a teller, like I said, teller. Then after a year and a half, I became a cash officer. But I knew there was no growth, or there wasn't any growth, any serious growth in operations. I made a request to be moved to sales
Okay.
because I knew that that was a way forward. It was pretty difficult for me then. Zenith Bank those days used to hire people directly into sales. Okay, I'm sure then I probably was the first person to move from operations to marketing in Zenith Bank, and after that became a career path, you know. And became a career path because shortly after I moved, a few things happened, positive things happened, and then the bank felt that not everybody in operations, didn't know his left from his right. And I mean, there were some talents in operations that the bank could tap and move them to marketing. So I guess that was actually the tipping point for me in my career. And since then, I've not looked back.
Okay, so would you advise someone that is just starting out on their career and they're in operations now? So would your advice be move to sales without delay?
Absolutely. I mean, everyone I have interacted with in the last couple of years, I've told them that, yes, good to start in operations, but don't stay too long there. Because let me explain it to you. How many cash officers can you have in a branch? Just one. How many head of operations can you have in a bank? Just one. How many chief operating officers can you have in a bank? Just one. But if you're in sales, you can only place a limit on how you can grow when you're in sales in banking in Nigeria. In Nigeria, because this is not the way banking is in other places. But in Nigeria, you can only place a limit on how far you can go. I say to my junior colleagues that if you're very good, either your bank elevates you or another bank gives you that level or that elevation.
Okay.
You understand? So it's very clear, So I encourage everybody to get into sales. It's tough, no doubt about it, but I think that's the surest way to go.
So how does one transition? Do you need to take some courses? Do you just need to make a request? Do you need to have a godfather? How do you transition if you are in operations and then you want to move into sales?
Well, not courses really, because around here in Nigeria, I'm not sure Nigerian banks look at that. I think what is most important is for you to display the right attitude, show the quality, because if you want to get into sales, so person will look at you, see how much of that that personality of a salesperson that you have. Okay, how much can you engage a customer? How many customers have you introduced to the bank? You know, on a scale of 10, are you an extrovert or an introvert? You know, that personal traits, you know, really counts when it comes to, you know, selection or you know. So if somebody comes to me and says, wants to go to market, I look at the person and I do an assessment and I feel, if I feel that this guy actually has those qualities or something like that, yes, I can push for the person.
Okay, so are these qualities, so I hear you talk about interpersonal skills, it would seem.
Absolutely, yes, please.
So are these qualities that one is born with? Is it something that you either have it or you don't, or you can develop, you can train yourself, you can, learn, you can read books and so on and so forth?
Some For some, they were born with this quality, you know, just to be able to hit it up with someone, make friends, and build relationships. For some, you probably have to just pick it up along the line. I was born an introvert. I used to be very shy. Yes, I used to, I was telling some colleagues not too long ago that I knew when the dam broke for me. I knew exactly where I was. I was on my way between um, Ijebode and Ibadan. Then I was my final year, and I told myself that no, if I needed to move in my life, my career, I needed to reach out, I needed to, and I made up my mind from that point that I'll consciously engage, build, and better relationships. And since that time, I consciously, and I've grown it over time. Because I was encouraged some junior staff, saying that I can't do my. I said no, make up your mind. If something you want to do, tell yourself. I mean, yes, some people are born. I mean, they know how to get reach out, but some of us can. And I learned it. I mean, I made up my mind, and yeah, it became just normal for me.
Okay, great. So this is something anyone can learn, anyone can
I
become.
completely agree. Yeah, I believe
Great.
that.
Okay, so let me move away from that and ask, which has been more valuable for you in, um, climbing the career ladder, if you like, your educational background or experience that you gained, along the way?
I think both, but more of experience.
Okay.
Yeah, I think both, but more of experience. If I were assigned percentages, I probably say maybe 75 or 80 to experience. So because there's some levels you probably may not get to if there are deficiencies in your academic qualifications. You understand? And I can tell you an example. For instance, in those days, um, the first bank I worked with was Zenith Bank then. The minimum entry qualification was second class upper division. If you didn't have a two, you wouldn't even write the test, not to talk of taking an interview. You understand? Or a 2-2 with a master's degree. So most of us that were tellers those days, I mean, I'm talking about 26 years ago now, we were all either master's degree holders or second class upper division, yeah, graduates. And there were two first class students there, I mean, two first class graduates there. And we're all tellers from day one. I don't know what they do now, but that was the minimum standard then. Till I left the bank, it was like that. So if the academic whatever had not been there, probably, probably we don't have other head starts.
Okay. Okay. All right. Again, still talking about, skills and all of that. Of course, it's not everyone, you just talked about some of your colleagues that you came in together. I'm sure it's not everyone that is at the top of their banking career now. So some have maybe stagnated, some, they have moved away and all that. So what would you say were the vital skills that you acquired early on in your career that have helped you to grow and to, be where you are today?
Um, Well, number one, I think back to the same interpersonal skills
Okay.
really helped, both internally and outside the strict financial, line or or banking. Number two, I think that over time, at every point where I had worked, had managed to always deliver some of my numbers. Okay, so performance has helped. Okay, and it's still helping. Right. For me, for instance, I mean, we know that banking in Nigeria is target driven. So you at the beginning of the financial year, you get your numbers, targets. I mean, what people call targets, and most of the time, I I I, I beat them.
Yeah, yeah. So you're a
So
performer.
I feel well. I don't know how to say it, but yes. So it has really helped. You understand? And I tell my colleagues, especially the junior ones, that don't be found wanting on your job. It's one thing not to do well, but the attitude must be right. And your supervisor must see that you are heading in the right direction. It's important. People don't know that even if you're not doing well, but your supervisor or supervisors can see that you know exactly what you're doing, they'll give you enough time. Because everyone, not all of us will take off at the same time and won't peak at the same time. You understand? So some would, some of their graph, stay longer before they peak. Some will move like this. So I think it's just as a leader, you look at different people. So I feel that it's important for everybody to know that when you deliver your numbers, you definitely move up the career as quickly as you can.
Okay, so let me still stay a bit on, professional development and all that. What advice would you give towards professional development in your field? I know you've talked about experience, you've talked about performance, on the job, but are there any tips to, so maybe join this association, get this certification, and so on and so forth, as far as, banking is concerned?
Yeah, I'm aware that there is a major attempt to standardize some of the things that are being done in banking today. For instance, CBN/CIBN. CIBN is the Institute of Bankers.
Okay.
No, no, we are trying to have minimum standards expected or minimum qualification expected, for a branch manager or someone at the branch manager level. Okay, so what that means is that for someone to get into that role, fit into the role, and meet the expectations or the expected requirements of those two bodies, but then I think the person must have done maybe 5 or 6 years in banking, or maybe with an MBA and stuff like that, or maybe have done the foundation of some levels of CIBN examinations. When we started, those things were not there.
Yeah.
But today, I think that kind of requirement is important. I mean, to me, that kind of requirement is important to move on. Okay, so as much as banking in Nigeria is an all-comers um, job, so to say, I mean, the banking today, we have people that had, in those days, there was someone that studied veterinary medicine, a vet doctor. In banking, you have lawyers, you have English graduates, you have philosophy graduates, you have just anybody. Because you get it, you learn. You know, you understand. So, but I think the attempt to standardize today probably will help. So if someone is coming in fresh, you may just be required. It may be better for you, okay, to do maybe those qualifications and certifications and
Okay. Okay. Great. Okay, so let's move away a bit also from that now. So I'm going to ask you like three questions together. So these questions have to do with what mistakes did you make early in your career, if you made any? What would you do differently now if you have to go back in time? And also, was there some sort of career setback you faced? maybe earlier on, maybe somewhere mid-career, and how did you handle that? Yeah.
Okay, what mistake did I make early in my career? I think that looking back now, I think I left my very first job too early as a young man. It helped because by my 8th year in banking, I'd already hit manager in the sector. Yeah, I'd already become a full manager. Those days with the car, a brand new car and stuff like that. It helped. Within a year, I was already a full manager. However, looking back, maybe if I had stayed a little longer on my first job, I probably may have even, maybe not the manager in the 8th year, but maybe probably close to it. But I will have, the foundation will have been a little bit, maybe just better, I don't know. Because once in a while I look back at my times, I feel like I should have done a little bit longer in that first job. Yeah, I feel so, I don't know. Yeah. Because I moved to sales after 2.5 years or 3 years, and I was in sales in that particular institution for maybe 2 years, a year and a half. I was doing very well. So I had you know the way it is. When you're doing well and people talk about you, just go to another bank and quickly just move and it was very easy those days to move. So yeah, so I moved, I did like 2 moves, and I was running a full manager. So it helped me.
Okay, so
well, like I said, maybe I don't know. I don't know.
So what you're saying in hindsight now is that it may be better for the long run that you get grounded first, even if the pay is not really. Maybe you shouldn't focus on the pay initially. Focus on getting grounded. Is that what you're saying?
I would not say grounded. I mean, this is peculiar to me as
Okay.
Segun. I was doing well in my first job, my first bank, doing very well. Okay, I knew that if I continued like that, even if I didn't make full money like 8 years, I probably would have made a DM or yeah, something like that. Okay, um, it's not about. It's just that if I had stayed longer there, it probably would have helped me to negotiate after moving on, because I left before I became an assistant manager. I mean, something like that. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just for me. I looked at it. I've done 26 years now, and if I assess it properly, I probably would have been a bit better today. Probably, yeah. That's what I mean. I mean, those fine details. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And you said the other question, because there were 3 questions in all, so
So you sort of answered 2 mistake,
okay.
and then what would you have done differently, which you've answered.
Okay.
So it's if there was a career setback you faced, which and how did you manage it? Or in another way, you can also say maybe you realized after all that it actually played to your advantage. So and you can go any of those routes.
Career setback, not at all. I can't remember any. I mean, I must thank God that things have been, smooth sailing thus far. Yes, I took some decisions at different times. Okay, that maybe, again, when I was moving up, I didn't have a mentor. So most of the decisions I taking, I just do. I like to analyze the market myself or the sector myself. I do those things myself. I make up my mind. I like this bank. I like this other bank. I send in applications or I reach out to somebody there and I get in. Now, like I said about leaving my first job, if I had a mentor, that probably could have provided guidance, and maybe I may not have moved some banks at a particular time. I'll give you an example. When I left my first institution, I went to a bank that used to be a merchant bank, and they got converted. That was 2000, I think, 2000, yeah. That was the year universal banking started in Nigeria. before the CBN Governor Lamido reversed it. That was the first time, and that was when you had a lot of merchant banks converting to commercial banks, right? So the bank that I joined after leaving my first institution then got the license 001 for universal banking, then. And they needed people that had experience in commercial banking. And that was how and why I joined them.
Okay.
You understand? It wasn't based on anybody, and I just looked at it, and this is the bank I just got commercial, they would need us. So it was easy. The interviews were not difficult. They wanted me, I wanted them. It was a marriage of intent. And yeah, I moved in. Like I said, for instance, maybe if I hadn't moved, I don't know. Just looking back, I really don't know. Yeah. Because after some time again, we know that the universal marketing was reversed and the banks were asked to go back to strictly, commercial banking particularly. Then lately again, in the last couple of months or whatever, maybe like you begin to see something that looks like universal banking. I find banks owning insurance, whatever. So without an announcement being made, you can see that those things are beginning to happen. Banks becoming a hold co. Having a whole co structure, having this, having that. Who knows? So I don't know. I can't call it a setback, but hindsight, maybe something more on timing. Yeah, I could say maybe something more on timing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now you've always been in banking or in the financial sector.
Yes.
So now there are people that just leave school and they find the first job. It could be in an issue, and they just have to take it because
No, they find the first of the what? I didn't hear that.
maybe you studied banking and finance or you
Yeah.
studied engineering, and your first job, the first opportunity you get is in an issue or a
Okay.
buka.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so somehow just say, let me take it and then let me just see how it goes. Should one focus and say, I'm, uh, I'm an economist, I want to work in a stockbroking firm or in a banking, in a financial, institution. And if I don't get that, I'm not going to take anything because I want to be focused. Because it seems you've been very focused all through your career. What do you advise? Take something and then begin to look for alternative, or begin to look to what you really want, or how should you navigate that as a young
All right. I will share with you my own life. I left school precisely 1988 actually. Served somewhere in Bochi. Got back. Came back from youth service. Went in for my masters. Okay. Master same course. Okay, I didn't say that at the beginning. I studied agricultural economics from UI. So I went back to UI for my master's degree in the same course. Had distinction on masters. I was invited to start my PhD, which I began actually. Um, then I got a job with the Obasanjo Holdings Limited, Obasanjo Group. I was supposed to do what they called sales and something funny like that, sales and marketing or something here. But I knew that wasn't what I wanted. I took the job, but my eyes were on banking. In fact, my eyes were precisely on one particular bank. I wrote the bank test twice. I passed it 2 times. I had interviews twice. Starting with the bank that I started with was because the one I wanted did not work. I don't mention names here, but I was working, but my eyes were. I had a laser focus on the bank I wanted to work with. So at that time, it was only that bank or nowhere else. But not just banking, but that particular. But when it didn't work out, I joined the other one because they were, today those two banks are number one and number two today, and I'm sure you can figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah, that was what happened. So I started working with the OOL group. That's what we used to call it, the Obasanjo group, something like that. I had a quarry, I had the farm, I had clothing and stuff like that. So I was in the group office. Okay. But I knew that was what I wanted, right? But then that was a job that, that came then, that was available. So I took it, but I did not take my eyes off what I needed. When I left there, I joined a finance house. Okay, not a bad job, not a bad pay then, but I knew that I wanted a bank. So I still didn't take my eyes off the bank. So it took me actually post graduation about 6 years before I started my banking career. So I left school 88 by 7 years actually. I left school 88, did my served 89, and I started banking 95. Some of my colleagues have started almost they've done about 30 years now. But then those 5 years, those intermediate years were years where I knew that this was what I wanted. As I was doing other things, my eyes were focused on. I mean, thank God the bonus finally came. So my advice to young people is that yes, you can't stay at home. I said to some of my junior colleagues, or some people I provide mentorship to, that take whatever comes, because it's easier to switch jobs than to go from home to get a new job.
Okay.
Yeah, but be focused on what you want or where you're going. Even if it is not the same sector, let them know that you took this other one because there was just no way you could stay at home. And these are your learnings here. Because the employer or the interviewer or the employer wants to know what you're doing where you are right now, what you have learned, and probably what you can bring to the table if we give you an opportunity. So if you got an entry job, take it. But never ever take your eyes off your personal goal or prize. Until you achieve that, there cannot be self-fulfillment.
All right. All right. Thank you so much for that. So, since you've been in banking 30 plus years, or financial institutions 30 plus years, so what has um, what has changed in the industry since you
Several.
started, and then what's the future? What's the future for the industry?
Okay, what has changed? Several. Not too long ago, I was just sharing, they said the old man looks back with nostalgia. So, I'm the old man now. So, once in a while, not precisely, I was talking to my colleagues, and I said to them that when we started in sales, there were no mobile phones then.
Mm.
Okay, so what did we used to do? We had what we call, I'm sure you will know, the yellow book directory.
Okay.
Okay, I was talking to them about prospecting for business, how to prospect. I said we had the yellow book, the big yellow book then used to be done by Nitel. Yellow pages, they call it yellow pages. Big book like this that had almost all the companies in Nigeria. Okay, so we'll go through those books. I mean, we'll go through the book, go through yellow pages. We'll extract names of businesses not too far from us with the phone numbers at times. Some will have the Nitel line, some won't have, but we'll take the addresses. They will make cold calls. There were times that we would see what do you call it? What do you call it? A branded vehicle of a company, with a name on it, let's Oakley, and they'll put the small address. You would drive behind it to where they're going to locate the office. You understand? And those were the ways we were generating prospects then. Because no phone call, I mean no mobile phone. So things were not this easy. There was no Google. Those days we used to joke that if you did your internet connection, if you try to connect, you could go make coffee and come back before the thing will connect.
Hey, these are radio, VSATs, all manner of
God
stuff.
bless you, radio visa connections, for the year. And that's the truth. You will just do palm, then you will leave it, you probably go and make coffee, then come back. The thing will still be rolling, and they finally connect. So life was not this easy, so to say. Of course, regulatory things have changed over time. Okay, I'm sure you know that by the time the Sanusi 2, came up, was made the CBN governor. Before then, there had been the meltdown and a lot of banks went under. So things have happened over time in the lending space. Okay, competition has changed the face of banking. You understand? When we started then, it was just, in fact, we used to call ourselves new generation
Okay.
because we were competing against the old then that refused to change. But they have all changed now. So it was easy to tell a customer or a prospect then that we could do this in 2 minutes. Draft issuance in those days, before I joined my bank, then could take a whole day. You go to the bank, you make a request for a draft. But when we started, if your account was funded, maybe 15 minutes, 10 minutes. And I started my career in a Papa area. So Papa business area.
Yeah.
And you had loads of clearing agents that won't speak. So it was easy for my bank to get to the market and do a lot of so things obviously are. Today you cannot tell anyone that you're a new generation because every bank is either new or has had a rebirth.
Okay.
So we're all competing in the same space. Now talking about the future is going to be very interesting. I had a meeting today with some of my colleagues, and I was telling them that, in fact, it actually happened beginning of last year when I told them that, see, with the licensing of what we call payment service banks, PSBs,
Okay.
okay, which some of the telcos had applied for license, then, and one or two of them have already got the license now. Banking will change because imagine the telco that has about 60 million subscribers having a banking license. Okay, what will happen is that it already has an ecosystem, it already has a group, as a captive market. It will provide the services that we are providing at a lesser cost. Because while we will charge you for, let's say, USSD, I mean the conversion today, or alert or something, it's going to be free for him within his network or cheaper. You understand?
Yeah.
And that's the space we're getting into. Look at what has happened in payment, payment gateways and stuff like that today. We're going to get to a point where people would almost say they don't need a bank. We're reviewing the Alibaba model some time ago with I think some expatriates. I can't remember where I was. That was last year. And Alibaba, the main Alibaba. I mean, that's not the comedian here.
That's the
yeah.
Jack Man.
Yeah, Jack, exactly. It's actually creating an what can I call like an ecosystem where you probably don't need a bank. So people in China, from what we heard, what they do is that they get paid, they move their money into the purse. Because from that purse, you can buy things from the platform, you can pay for this, you can pay for that, you understand. So an e-commerce platform is almost becoming a bank.
Okay.
There's actually there's a local player, okay, that's almost developing or evolving into such.
Okay.
There's a local player today, evolving into such. You can take your medical, you can pay your, because they have brought in medical, what do you call it now? Health sector players, they've brought in fashion players, they've brought in these, and when you buy, you get like a discount. So why do you want to go? So banking is going to change. In fact, I told my colleagues, I said, we'll get to a point where the only exclusive function that today's deposit money bank will do will be to provide FX services, foreign exchange services. Because people will get those other services from several other platforms. Today, you don't need to get a bank to borrow money.
Yeah, I was going to do that. There's so many.
You don't get a bank to borrow money. There are a lot of lenders around. You don't need to get a bank to save money. There are two major players that all they do is they save. They encourage people to do the savings. That's I can't remember, owned by those two ladies. So you can see that the traditional functions of banks have been taken. So you don't go to, you want to borrow, you go to the fintech lender, you borrow there, You want to save, go to the fintech lender to save. So into the future, it's going to be more interesting now on code. And that's why you find that some banks are already taking the old code shape, send the payments. I mean, one of the banks, not the one, maybe 2 or 3 now, setting up payments, divisions, setting up this, setting up that, because that is the future actually. So those banks that are taking the lead in creating those kind of departments or units or subsidiaries, they're actually positioning for that opportunity and to compete with the fintechs. So our major competition into the future will be the fintechs, and we normally joke, that the fintechs are going to take our dinner.
You've taken the breakfast and the lunch.
We still manage breakfast, but we may not meet dinner there again. And that's the truth.
All right, interesting. So let me also ask this question related to sales. Since you've been in sales,
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said, since you've been in sales,
Okay, yes, please.
all this while on marketing. So what are the what qualities should a salesperson have, whether in the banking sector or any sector? What are the key qualities that define success for a salesperson?
In sales, I'll start by saying that in sales, I say everything counts. Everything counts. I'll start with the person's personality, because the client, the customer, first wants to buy you, on quote, before he buys your product or your company. So if you don't present yourself well, the prospect or the customer will automatically believe that the business you represent cannot serve his interest. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So from the way you dress, to the way you speak, to your knowledge of the business, to your ability to engage, in meaningful conversation, in your knowledge of what is happening around you beyond finance, because you get to a customer's place and the customer starts talking about politics, maybe Nigerian politics or whatever, and you're looking dumb and stupid. I mean, excuse my English. You can't be afraid of that person, because the person doesn't know, you can't relate with the person, so the person doesn't, can't see you as a friend. And half of the time, people buy from friends. So the first thing you want to learn is how to make friends and how to keep friends while still maintaining that professional boundary. So you must be able to do that. You must have knowledge of almost everything. Yes, not deep knowledge, but at least smart. Just because I have seen situations where the fact that I can't remember, maybe it was sports or maybe it was soccer, I can't remember what it was again. But I found out that having what looks like a mutual interest with a customer, okay, will make the customer to prefer you above other above competition. Okay? In sales, there's something they call the concept of the mind share. Okay? If you occupy or take a larger share of the customer's mind, you are not going to take a larger share of his business.
Okay.
You understand? How do you get it? Sorry?
How do you do that?
How do you get the customer's mind? The customer must see you as a friend. How to become his friend? You must share some interests, similar interests, with him. Not that you drink with him, no. But at least you must understand that you are reasonably engaging, you're adding value to his business, you understand, you're willing to talk maybe about his family, those kind of things. And it has worked severally for me. I meet a client for the first time, and he says, I'm doing this because of you, not because of your bank. Because I get to a customer's office, let's say prospect's office, I walk in at first and I see maybe the customer's portrait on the table, the family or maybe the children. And I start with that, oh, your son looks very handsome. So we first go into that discussion. Oh, my son is 11 years old, they play soccer. Oh, that's nice. So the customer talks about himself. Everybody in life talks about himself or herself. So let the customer speak, give the customer your full attention. Don't just be, just be encouraging him on. As he talks about himself to you, he's opening up to you, he's becoming your friend, he sees you as a friend. By the time you ask for business, it's not going to be too difficult for him to say, okay, I know we don't need a new bank, but come back tomorrow, let's look at it again, that's what we can do with you. And it has worked over and again for me. So I feel that is important for anyone that wants to do sales.
Sorry, I just had a power cut, but we can.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's fine.
Yeah. So it has worked for me, severally, and I encourage my colleagues, to do same. Don't get to the customers and ask for business. No, the other person too is asking for business. So first get there and try to make him your friend. Listen to him, make reasonable contributions, provide advisory, and that doesn't can happen if you haven't even developed yourself. So you need to be aware. I'll use the word aware loosely, which means that you must know about as many things as possible. At times, I don't even know how I got to know some things, but because I read randomly, you understand? I tell somebody, oh, this business, I think this other business failed because of that. Say, okay. If I told you that the business failed because of this, what that tells you is that be mindful of that gap. Mind that gap because it will happen to you again. Why would the customer see me? A friend, because I provided advice that he probably did not know.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's important for any salesperson, personality is key, knowledge is important. When I say personality, every type of personality. You must not be caught, dressed in, no. A salesperson must be not too expensive, but must be presentable. A salesperson must do his best to speak English the way it's supposed to be spoken with the right diction. I'm not joking with you.
Yeah.
Early in my career, very early in my career, I met one man, I've forgotten his name now, much elderly then, maybe about 67 then, pretty old. He had been the president of maybe advertising professionals of Nigeria. Coins, well trained, you will just know, well groomed elderly man. I went to his office, like I said, random, those days we just knock at doors. So I walked in his office, I was marketing my bank there, trying to get the customer to open an account. And the customer had a friend with him. So we're talking, and I said, can I have a copy of your original driver's license? He said, see. So I told him, I said, see. That's the right thing to say, driver, not driving license. I'm talking about 20 years ago. Because of that description, right description of a driver's license, the man became one of my closest and friends, elderly friends, and gave me business in that bank then. So it may be very trivial, but some things are very important, particularly to some people. So it's important that the salesperson is should I use the word all round? Maybe. Yeah. You must know the business, must know your competition, you must have the right personality, all those things put together, and then you're ready to shoot, you're ready to fly.
All right, great. So as we begin to wind down,
all right.
Let me ask this, since you talked about books, so what books do you recommend? What are your, what books are you reading probably, or what books do you recommend for professionals in your field right now? They could be banking books, they could be other books as well.
I'm transiting.
Okay.
In the last couple of years, my interest has been around leadership. books and stuff like that. So in recent times, I've been a bit focused on autobiographies or biographies of leaders that I admire. In the recent past, I read Colin Powell's book on how did he say it again? It helped me in life and in leadership. Great book. I read the book, of course, the man that started Dubai, UAE. I read the book about how Israel came out. What I'm reading right now, I'm going to have left because of is A Promised Land by Obama.
Okay.
So I just read those books to see how those people have handled situations and stuff like that. For instance, in the book, I forgot the title of the book now on how Israel was, formed out of whatever. I read the planning that went into the Entebbe raid. You know the Entebbe raid?
Yes.
How some Israelis were. Yeah, the details of that you'll find in that particular. I forgot the title of the book now. The details that went into the planning of the Entebbe raid, how they were rescued. Everything you read there. That's the kind of thing that interests me today. Because, like I said, I'm transiting. I'm an old man. I'm beginning. I'm an old man, so I'm beginning. So for me, those are the kind of things I read. I mean, leadership and stuff like that. For someone coming up, I'll tell the person, don't restrict yourself to any type of book or any particular line. Just read randomly, especially if you're in sales. Read as much as you can, get as much knowledge as you can. I did that in the past. I read almost all the books of leadership by John C. Maxwell. I read all the books on finance those days. I was just reading anything and everything. I read Great Salesman. I read all kinds of things I've read in the past. But these days, if I'm going to read a book, it will likely be leadership. After leadership books, I still read randomly, but short things. I can't stay long reading big books again. So I read short things, maybe on the internet, 3-4 pages, 5 pages, and stuff like that. Research from Harvard Business Review and things like that. That's what I read now. I don't know whether it's sufficient, but then it helps me. Yes, that's it.
Okay, so whatever you do as a young salesperson or young professional, just make sure you're reading, you're broadening your mind, you are aware of your environment, whether it's politics, whether it's business. Yeah. Exactly.
Don't wait. I said don't waste your travel time.
Yeah.
When you're moving from one place to the other, maybe you're in the bus or you're in. Today, people don't do buses again. They do Uber and stuff like that. Don't just sit down and be playing with Google and all those funny things on Instagram. It doesn't make any. Sorry. It doesn't help. So those times we used to read. But what do we see these days? People spend those times on Instagram, Snapchat. I'm not saying we shouldn't do social media. I mean, yes, that I am old school does not mean that people shouldn't catch up on those. But I think that you spend your time, it will be more useful for you to spend your time reading those things, reading, things that will enhance and feed yours, than spending too much time on Instagram and Facebook. I'm sorry, but that's how I feel.
All right. So a final word, is there a quote that motivates you, or what's your life mantra, or just a final charge for young people, professionals, just starting out in their careers?
Okay. I became an orphan at age 8. Okay. And things were not particularly interesting, those early years, But my focus was very clear. I just knew that I needed to keep it I need to be very focused. Okay. So I'm going to encourage a lot of people, especially people like me, jokingly we say with no background. Stay focused, stay determined. Don't take it high. Things are not going to be easy. I mean, because you don't have that advantage, parental advantage. What does it mean anything? It doesn't mean anything. The height you get to, yes, God major factor, but some of the things, some of the things you'll achieve, they're in your hands. So what you do, what you don't do, all put together will affect where you get to. So back to what my mantra in life will be, or should be, or maybe has been a guidance all this while, is that's serenity prayer. You know it? That says that God grant me the serenity, of mind to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. If that is your philosophy in life, you will know when to push hard, you will know when to apply brakes, and you have the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Segun Ladipo. It has been an insightful time with you, and we trust that at some other time when we ask for you to come on board on our platform at Talk Interlink, you will definitely oblige us.
Trust me, you have me anytime you want.
All right. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks for the time, sir.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
I appreciate it.